Hey there, Descendants, my fellow Americans, and people in other countries around the world. How are y'all doing today? Hope you're all doing well. Before we get into today's video, if you do enjoy the content that you see, please do consider hitting that subscribe button down below. Thank you so much. Also, if you're in the market for some energy supplements, head on over to w.gg and go ahead and use code Ascending Rift to check out. I'll go ahead and have that on the screen for you. It's Ascending Rift, no space, capital A, capital R. Thank you so much. Today, we're going to be reacting to Asmongold's reaction to IGN's review of the first Descendant. This was back all the way in 2024, so it's a bit of a time capsule, so to speak. But to any Asmongold fans who might be watching this video, welcome to my channel, and hopefully you do consider downloading and checking out the first Descendant. That's kind of mainly the goal of my video, and also to provide a bit of a retrospective as to the key points that IGN may or may not address in this video, and how the first Descendant has progressed since this review was put together. Let's go ahead and get right into it.
So IGN interviewed the first Descendant. Let's see about this.
With so
Interviewed.
many live service games vying for your attention, the first Descendant feels
I've had
like
that problem recently. Like with so many games coming out, like I literally have not had time. Like I haven't had time to play Zenless Zone Zero because like I think that it's the least fun out of the three of like once human.
Yeah,
Wuthering
I know
Waves
what he's
too.
talking.
Like,
I know
Zenless
what he
Zone Zero is like
means.
the least fun out of all four.
it with focus group tested.
It's not like
to
it's
please
bad,
as
it's
many
just that it's
people
the
as
least fun.
possible, and it's faded for mediocrity as a result.
Ooh.
This unabashedly derivative shooter borrows tired ideas from better games,
Damn.
covers them in a thick layer of free-to-play annoyances, then pads the
Damn.
whole thing out with mind-numbingly repetitive missions just in case you were still managing to have fun. That's
I mean, okay, so obviously, it's 2026, February 21st, 2026. And this, I honestly, even when I came back to the game like 13 months ago, this was true to an extent, but I don't think it's nearly as bad as they're, just straight up putting on, or letting on. Like, even back then, right? Because, like, I mean, listen, if you're gonna play a looter shooter, things are going to be repetitive, right? You're going to run the same mission a handful of times, to get the stuff that you want, the stuff that you need, whatever the case might be. That's just a byproduct of games like this. Like, so I think to kind of, create a review on a game like this and to just go all in and say, oh well, every mission type is the same, or it's mind numbing and blah 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 blah, this that and the other. I think that's just a bit unfair because it literally tells you on the startup page on PlayStation a free-to-play third-person looter shooter, right? It says looter shooter right there, and that's what a looter shooter is. All right, let's continue.
unfortunate because underneath all that cheap wood and crumbling drywall is a really strong foundation with
Yeah.
entertaining gunplay
Yes, there is.
and charismatic characters I'd like to get to know better. The first Descendant is by no means the first live service game to come out of the oven half-baked, so there's always a chance updates will make it more
He
palatable.
actually brings
Yeah, so he said not the first live service game to come out of the oven half baked. Again, I'm not entirely familiar with the launch of the game and like the state of it. I know what I've heard and stuff like that, but I again, like it's a live service game, right? Like they're going to add to the game over time. They're going to expand upon the game over time. That's just how these things work, right? So I think calling any live service game half baked on release is extremely unfair, even if it's not the first Descendant, like in any game's case, because that's the epitome of what being a live service game is that okay, not all the content's available at launch. They're going to give you more content as the game progresses throughout its life cycle. This is to be expected though. It's fucking IGN. IGN's hot dog shit, so but let's continue.
up a really good point here. So games do this, like gacha games do this really well, where they spend a lot of time developing the personalities and the context of the characters in the game. So like
Yep.
even in Grand Blue Fantasy Relink, which is a game that's made off of a gacha but not a gacha, you have these different quest lines, or not quest lines, but like these like different like what are they called? Like voice acted things where like it tells you the whole story of the back character. I do think that they should do that for First Descendant. If they're adding in new characters, like add in like a mission or something like that, and they have like companion missions in like Star Rail and in other games. Yeah, the memories, the episodes, yeah, the Fate episodes. And that actually is something that they should do with this.
And what's funny about that is They basically have done that for right there in the chat. It says First Descendant has a story quest for Bunny. Zaya official right here said it. So I mean, they have done story quests for characters, and every single character that comes out, and every single ultimate that comes out, right? There's a story quest attached to it, and for at least the base characters that you have to farm up and acquire in the game, the story quest is necessary to be able to, then go to the place or places where the character is able to be farmed. You do have to, play the story and get all those cutscenes and stuff like that, and absorb the story as you go. I mean, and honestly, the First Descendant storytelling isn't the best out there, but it's really, really good. Right? It's very good, especially for a free to play game. I'm a huge Dragon Ball fan, and I would go so far to say that the story for the First Descendant puts the story for Dragon Ball Legends to absolute shame. It's not even close. And again, like Dragon Ball is my favorite IP. I'm actually probably more biased than not when it comes to Dragon Ball. I try not to be biased with anything that I like. I try to view everything as objectively as I possibly can. But with love and appreciation does come a little bit of bias. But yeah, let's continue.
100%.
In the months and years to come, but it's off to an underwhelming start.
They have that in Lost Ark too.
Fuck it, looter.
Developer Nexon's take on a multiplayer third-person shooter plays in some of the same spaces as Genshin Impact.
Okay, so I mean, he's not entirely wrong in saying that Nexon is the developer, but what he should have said was Magnum Studios, just to be a bit more, I don't know what the word would be. But if you want to go into this and act like you have all the information, then at least portray yourself as having the, the basic foundation of information when you review a game like this, right? So
with cool-looking characters to unlock and countless currencies and materials to grind for, all of which can be bypassed if you're willing to simply cough up your hard-earned cash.
You can't bypass a lot of things, like you can't buy
Catalyst.
you can't
well,
buy
you can.
these, and you can't buy these.
Yeah, you can't buy Golden Kuiper
for some of them.
Yep.
But you can bypass certain things.
And like
you can't bypass. You can't buy mods.
There's a pretty decent.
Also, I feel like Travis here, I believe that's the reviewer's name. I feel like Travis is trying to say without saying that the game is pay to win when when that's just not true. It's never been true. I certainly do agree that to some extent it can be pay to progress, but pay to win, I don't think so. Again, it just seems like he's dancing around the statement. But for some reason he's afraid to say something like that.
Game here, in spite of a UI
weapons,
that requires a PhD in RPG hogwash.
Wait, what?
Here, in spite, and like some of its polished contemporaries, there's a pretty decent game here, in spite of a UI that requires a PhD in RPG hogwash.
No, it doesn't.
And an
What are you talking about?
I feel like this is pretty simple, right? I mean, you have your abilities, you have your melee, your grappling hook, your 3 weapons.
Yeah, it is simple. This guy is a fucking moron. Oh, I'm sorry. That's just comical.
Shields. I feel like this is this is the minimum amount of information that you need. Yeah, this is font. What?
Monetization model, running around with friends while shooting enemies and unleashing interesting supernatural abilities upon alien armies is an undeniably good time. And the deep
it is.
Mechanics and loot systems are a spreadsheet-loving nerd's dream. It's also a fairly pretty game that feels a lot more premium than one might expect, even with the occasional frame rate dip or crash.
The whole story sucks dick, and it's completely dumb. It's basically a worse version of Zack Snyder's Justice League with Darkseid, and it's just really not that good. I stopped paying attention to it after like 3 cutscenes, but I did watch. I listened.
Okay, so I don't 100% disagree with what Asmon's saying here, because immediately I was reminded of Zack Snyder's Justice League when I saw Carell and I forget his underling's name. It escapes me because I really, Eamon, I think his name is Eamon. I actually quite like the design of the enemies in this game. And for me, it feeling like a great value version of Zack Snyder's Justice League, for me personally, it does more good than harm. But let's continue.
Listen to the cutscenes. I watched the cutscenes. I didn't listen to the dialogue.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, like in the base story, in the base stories, some of the dialogue is just, you know, like it's there. I'll just put it that way. The additional story pieces that they've been adding, like on Sigma Sector and stuff like that, that's honestly where the real meat of the bones is, right? That's where they really hone in on their artistic expertise and stuff like that for the storyline. And that's where I think it really shines as a story is, for example, Daya's story, just like even in Sigma Sector and stuff like that, the Oblivion storyline is quite nice. I remember one section of the story, Eugen squad mates, and how you had to defeat them. I thought that was pretty impactful. There's definitely, bits of it where it's like, okay, like what the hell am I playing? Like why am I listening to this? But there's also, like when the cutscenes are actually playing, like the actual cutscenes, right? Not the dialogue expositional pieces, but the actual cutscenes. Like that's where I feel like the real meat on the bones is for the story.
Eyebrow raising as it sounds. The story and dialogue is laughably bad,
and
much of the campaign is packed with filler that can be a real snooze. I've spent the vast.
I feel like if you're getting bored in the campaign, you should quit the game. Because the campaign is basically just you playing the game where it's slightly guided and there's cutscenes in between different things. Like, just quit the game.
Yeah.
Vast majority of my 120
because the max
hours
level
of
is the same thing.
playtime dashing around small hubs.
Now, I don't agree with him 100% just saying, to quit the game. I don't feel like that's very constructive, but like I mean he is right, you know what I mean? Like if you're not invested in the story whatsoever, and cuz like again, this was when the game first came out, right? This was I think a week night. I think what came out July. I can't remember the exact launch date, but this was like less than 2 weeks from the game's launch, right? So there was no Sigma Sector, there was no Axion planes, none of that stuff. It was literally just Ingress, and I'm not even sure if hard mode was available back then on launch. I want to say it was, but Ingress was the entire game. So they're dealing with, again, this is kind of a time capsule sort of thing. So I mean, yeah, let's go ahead and continue. I mean, I guess for the time, him saying if you're not enjoying the story, you should quit the game. Honestly, if I think about it in that perspective, right? Like for July 14th, 2024, I can see why he would say something like that. He's basically saying, okay, this obviously probably isn't the game for you, so just, play something else, right?
Areas, completing repetitive chores in between much more substantial missions and boss battles against robotic kaiju.
Yeah.
Those self-contained missions and bosses are exactly the kind of thing I hope for in an action-packed cooperative game. Some
right.
seriously awesome combat, interesting enemies to take down, and a loot system that had me regularly trying out the latest shiny weapon I pulled.
Now keep in mind, like, back then Asmongold was like, I think he ended up putting about 50 hours into the game before he moved on to other things. But he was actively playing the game. So that's probably why he said, okay, like if you don't like this story, just quit the game. Because he himself, like during the time of recording and uploading this, he was actively playing the game.
Pulled from some schmuck's corpse. That said, even these more enjoyable bits weren't without major irritations, like how nearly every boss has multiple layers of shielding that have to be.
True, he's right about this. I've disagreed with a lot of things he said. This part he is right about. The balls suck balls. Every single fucking version of this is annoying, especially the kill them in order version.
Kill them in order? Ugh, holy shit, kill them in order version. I'm so glad that they've changed things, dude. But also someone enhanced Greg. But yeah, so again, this is kind of a time capsule video. Obviously the balls in between boss phases are no longer an issue. You just trigger one or two different abilities, like even if it has a small like AoE ability attached to the skill, then these aren't an issue, right? Like Inez's second ability makes short work of these. Hell, even her one does. Bunny's AoE ability, there's a million ways to deal with this now. But yeah, back then it was certainly an issue because there was only like what, 4 characters that were released.
Healed off before they can be damaged, most of which respawn multiple times or heal if you take too long to remove them.
Now, I mean, I do kind of okay. I love. I don't think they respawn, but I do kind of just want to point out that Travis's build for his Lepic on his gun specifically was kind of hot dog shit. If you're only doing 5,000 damage, You might want to take a look at your build again, because these ball shield things shouldn't take more than like, I don't know, 5 shots. Even with like the weakest of guns, if they're built correctly to deal with, especially in the story mode.
So I think that that's not the way it works. So they respawn. So there's 3 different versions of the balls. There's the version that you have to kill them in order, where they do not respawn.
Yeah.
There's the version where you have to kill them all at the same time, where they do respawn. And there's a version where they have a rotating immunity where they do not respawn.
Yeah, again,
And in none of those,
again, you know, like this, none of this is applicable now to TFD's current state by any means. Yeah, like Heaven Sight said right here, now there's only one version, and I mean, you can just destroy them all. It literally doesn't matter.
do they heal? Because in order to heal, they would have to put the armor plating back on the ball, because the armor plating is the indicator of the health of the ball. So it's kind of like...
Okay, actually, someone just commented, where was it? It was like here. Yeah, I read Passionate Sword, they removed. Yeah, so that's correct. Because the boss that, like, right, I'm pretty sure this is, or wait, no, that's not the 400% boss, I'm sorry. Um, but there was, it's in one of the 400% missions, I can't remember exactly which one off the top of my head. But instead of the balls, they just went with the AoEs, and then, you know, like the attached underling enemies, or like, you know, the attached biomechanic machines, you know, like the healing drones and stuff like that. They cycled out a lot of, you know, for Ederlich, right? So this is one of the 400% bosses right here, actually. Instead of the balls, he now has a shield where you have to shoot specific points to break the shield in order to make him vulnerable, right? So they did change a lot of these out, and they actually brought a lot more variety to the game rather than just having every single mini boss in the game have these balls that you must destroy in between phases. Also, I don't know why this person is using Bunny to aim and shoot. Let's continue.
Like, it heals the boss? Well, yeah, of course it heals the boss. I think this is a dogshit mechanic, but I don't think he understands it.
Even have shields on top of their shields, so you're constantly stopping.
Yeah, that weapon, I mean, of course your weapon's not doing any damage to it, bro.
Barrier, only to find yourself staring at another one seconds later.
To be fair, this was the worst boss. I hated this fucking boss.
No, to be fair, he should be using the bunny beam on the balls. This is what he should be doing.
Compared to the much more numerous missions you're expected to do in between every story beat, which have you grapple hooking across open world areas to complete intensely monotonous errands. These include a little.
Oh god, you remember when you had to stop to use abilities with Bunny?
Deposit them into a collection bin, an escort quest.
That was only like 2 months ago, but it feels like we've never had to stop.
And several variations of missions where you're just
or 2 months ago where they fixed it.
Keep it clear of foes. Not only do most of these involve a whole lot of waiting around for enemies to spawn, but you'll replay them in every new area until they are both tiresome and woefully predictable. There are so many missions like...
He's right about this, that the missions are repetitive. He is right.
Yeah, but...
And I think that, you know what this really excites me for? It really excites me to play a game like Destiny or maybe Warframe. Because, like, I don't agree with a lot of his conclusions in this video. But if the frame of reference is these other games that are better, I actually am like, hey, man, maybe this could actually be fun to play. Because I've enjoyed this game a lot, personally.
Yep. So, Asmund, why don't you come back, bro? It's been almost 2 years since you made this video. The game is in much better shape. Destiny 2 is not better than TFD. I wouldn't even compare like Destiny 2 launch. I mean, TFD launch was pretty rough, but I would still 100% take TFD over Destiny any day. Like, Destiny was good in 2017. It has not been good since then. I'm sorry.
These, and it adds hours upon hours to a roughly 30-hour campaign that would probably be a quarter as long if they just went straight to the stuff that's actually worth playing.
I mean, true, some of it does drag.
Even if you can forgive the often trite missions, the story itself is consistently a waste of time and absolutely not worth paying attention to. Absolutely brimming with nonsensical sci-fi babble like dimensional walls, inverted data codes, and unleashing RK, it's one of the sillier stories I've seen.
Okay, but to be fair, RK is an original concept that Magnum Studios came up with for TFD. So you can't really say that it's an annoying thing when they're just trying to familiarize you with RK as a concept throughout the story. That's unfair, I think.
In a while,
it's
and I
dog
play
shit.
Destiny. Most of the dialogue is absolutely atrocious. At one point,
it's very
I burst
cinematic.
out laughing when a guy said this.
Kickoff will engulf increase. The roars of the Vulgus will fill this land with fear.
And they keep making you talk to this annoying little brat. It's truly heinous stuff.
What? I'm sorry, I'm not about to defend Jeremy here. I fucking hate him. But how are you gonna sit here and try to sound like you're a professional, like, video game reviewer and use terms like annoying little brat? Like, that's okay. That's beyond me.
Watch what you're singing, Glay.
You know, Jeremy reminds me of Ray Gillette from Archer, right? Am I the only one?
Carried out my side of the operation perfectly.
Thankfully,
I don't think that this guy played. Did he play the whole game? Because, like, if you played the whole campaign, you kill him. Like, or he dies. Like, yeah, he's a bad guy. Yeah, like, spoilers? Yeah, but, I mean, it's not real, but that's not really, right? And so, he said 100, he played 120 hours.
the most interesting characters are those you can unlock and play as. That includes the unflappable electric speedster Bunny, who is my personal favorite, and the sarcastic and smarmy grenade-chucking soldier Lepic. Some of the casts do still seem a bit shallow, largely because you only get a little backstory and character development for most of them, but hearing them cheer as you blast monsters to bits and seeing their charming animations, which clearly had more effort put into them than those of the NPCs, is quite nice.
Well, of course there was more effort put into them, dude. Bro, are you you can't buy the NPCs, bro. What are you talking about? If he's saying NPCs in a general term, he's saying like, oh, like fucking, I don't know, Eamon and Corel and, you know, every single Vulgus model in the entire game. Of course there was more care and time put into these animations because these are introductory cinematics, bro. Are you kidding me? These are supposed to attract you into playing the character. That's the purpose of this. Okay.
One of these playable characters has an actual quest line associated with them right now, with more planned for the future. But that story is one of the better threads currently available, so here's hoping they're quick to add.
Well, of course the character storylines are better than the actual storyline, bro. Because the characters matter more than the actual storyline. They want you to farm for / buy the characters. Does this... Dude, I have never taken a business class a day in my life, and I can tell you that's exactly why. The storyline for the characters specifically is much better than the general campaign storyline. It's because it's money.
More on that front.
Oh, my beloved daughter, Daya. Hold on a little longer. Your mom will save you no matter what.
Actually,
yeah, that guy gets it. Ultra Instinct. That's my guy right there. Hold on. Someone said that bitch farts. Hey, yo.
Beloved daughter, Daya. Hold on a little longer. Your mom will save you no matter what.
Yep, right there.
Actually,
the dialogue is trash. It's actually worse than Lost Ark.
I would say, okay, yeah, word salad. That is a really, I mean, that's that's not a good descriptor for like. I agree with this though. Like, so for me, the story of the dialogue is very hit or miss. It's very 50-50. Because like some of it literally just sounds like, okay, like this just sounds like it was directly translated from Korean into English, and then the English voice actors read it like in a script that was written from direct translations, right? Instead of like being slightly reworded and stuff like that, where a lot of anime will do the same thing, but a lot of anime will also actually try to truly translate it and then correct it in terms of, you know, grammar and stuff like that. Dragon Ball to, you know, Dragon Ball, sub to dub is a really good example of this, especially Dragon Ball Super. Dragon Ball Super, like the dub itself gets a couple of things wrong, but a lot of the translations, they're not just rough translations, right? But they are almost one-to-one translations, but they're reworded to make more sense thematically and grammatically in an English tone, right? So I feel like for the newer portions of the story, though, you know, Nexon and Magnum Studios started paying more attention to that, and they're paying a lot more attention to the lip syncing as well for the English version of the game. So you know, like I said, just a little bit of a retrospective, so I'm gonna mention things like that. So
It is. It's so bad. It's literal dog shit. She's good at bossing. She's insane. No, that character, she's basically a vampire. She's really
yeah,
good. Like if I was
yeah,
going
that's
to
true.
make if I was going to play another character, I would probably pick her. She's so good.
To play as them is great too. One character might control the battlefield.
That's something
with
I aged well.
explosive AoE attacks, while another
Glade
covers
being good.
enemies in devastating ice-based debuffs. Bunny does insane DPS by running around as much as possible to generate electrical energy, then unleashes it in powerful blasts.
Yeah, this character is really
Since
cool.
each of these characters has their own style of play, switching between them offers a markedly different experience. Like how Ajax, a heavy tank with protective abilities, is all about standing your ground instead. Most games with playable characters as its main chase live or die by how compelling those unlockable avatars are, and the first Descendant
runs
is
into him, blows
loaded with
himself up.
distinctive options that are alluring to obtain.
Yeah. I will be honest, so like watching other people play, the only two characters that I found to be compelling or interesting, because I played Ajax, were Glay and Bunny. The rest of them I didn't really think were that cool or interesting.
Unfortunately,
Again, you know, and if any of Asmongold's audience is watching this video, I do implore you to at least try the first Descendant out. But I feel like even back then, like I would have, like if I actually stuck with the game like throughout the hard grind, I probably wouldn't have stuck with it. But you know, because like I played it on and off for like a week. You know, my friend told me about it and blah 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 whatever. Like I played it on and off for a week, and then I just kind of dropped the game because I was interested in other stuff, right? Like Sparking Zero was coming out, you know what I mean? Like, and come on, bro, we know how fucking massive and how hype Sparking Zero was, okay? Like, even non-Dragon Ball fans knew that that shit was coming out, bro. Sparking Zero was massive. But, you know, and I was still heavily interested in Dragon Ball Legends, you know, just stuff like that. Um, but, like, let me see, let me rewind a little bit here. Let me see if I can go back to the character select screen here. Yeah, so I mean, we have Jaber, Ultimate Lepic. I think Lepic's pretty fun. Freyna, obviously. I mean, I love Freyna. A lot of us love Freyna. You know, Glay, she's fun. I love Blood and Iron. I haven't really tried other builds. I wish this wasn't covering up the rest of it. I think that's Ultimate Viesa right there. So, I mean, you know, Viesa, Blair, like a lot of these characters were really fun to play. So even on launch, you know, they had plenty of options to offer in terms of characters to play. So.
in your pocketbook. In the name of science,
I'm going to be honest, I don't think that's a problem because the game's free to play.
Yep.
There's a tremendous amount of content in this game if this is a game that you find appealing.
Bro, enough with the Gooner ads, man.
And the fact that there's a free option to get something, and getting these characters also isn't... It's not a gotcha. You just spend money and you get the character.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, the criticisms that I have, like, I don't actually hate microtransactions. I hate microtransactions that are gambling.
Yep.
That's what I'm not a fan of. I don't care if the characters are overpriced. Well, then just don't get them, or earn them in game, or spend the money anyway.
Right.
It's not really complicated.
Yep.
There's also no FOMO. Yeah, the characters aren't going away. There's no, like, this is
That chatter, big brain, big brain. There's no FOMO. Even with skins, like the returning LTO skins literally shits on the FOMO argument. It's no longer a thing. No more FOMO.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think this isn't, pay or grind or pay, make your choice. Yeah, like, as a free-to-play game, and there's no PvP in this game, which doesn't make it not pay to win, but it makes it less important that it's pay to win.
Okay, it's not pay to win, Asmon, but I'll let you cook.
I really don't think this is a big deal.
He's right, though. It's not a big deal.
Maybe I'm crazy, but I just... Review sites are hating on this game hard. I feel like people are... I think you're right.
I decided to really dial in and see how much effort it would take to unlock one specific character from start
Dude,
to finish.
Asmund pulls up TFD, he sees fucking Daya on the starter screen, his jaw just drops. Like, if he comes back to this game, bro. And I know he's like mentioned it kind of recently, like, you know, he's still giving it its flowers, but obviously he doesn't actively play or stream it anymore, which is kind of a shame. But, like, dude, I would really like if he himself would come back to the game because that would, I mean, that would be explosive for the player base. You know what I mean? Like, he would probably have like, I don't know how many viewers he gets per stream. I mean, I know he gets a lot, but I'm just not privy to as to how many exactly he gets. I want to say he gets a few thousand. So, you know, even if like 40 or 50 of those people download the game, and then, okay, well, you know, word travels by word of mouth, and then they get 25 people to download the game, and then those 25 people get 20 people to download the game, and so on and so forth. It creates a ripple effect, right? So, you know, that's why I, myself, and a lot of other content creators like to stream the game as much as we do. I know I haven't streamed that much recently, but I've just been going through a lot, you know, my mental health and stuff like that. But that's why we like to stream the game as much as we do, you know, because most of us, we want to promote the game, right? We want to get it out there. We want, you know, more people to come and try out the game, especially when these, you know, hype character releases come out and stuff like that. Like Daya's character trailer has like over almost 300,000 views on YouTube. You know, that's not a number that you can necessarily scoff at, right? It almost has as many views as this. 510,000, right? So, let's continue.
Without spending any real money. After
Okay.
10 hours of repetitive grinding for the required materials, a whopping 8 of which was spent replaying a single mission trying to get one specific key item to drop. And
Yeah, that's how these work, bro. That's a looter shooter. You have to replay missions to get the things that you want to get.
More hours of waiting for arbitrary time gates to pass, the experience
Arbitrary.
had nearly broken me. I've got to admit, when
The time gates are there to get you to log back into the game, to have another chance for you to go glance at the shop. Maybe there's a skin that you forgot to get, or maybe there's a skin that you've been putting off, and maybe you got paid the next year or something like that. That's why these time gates on materials and characters and, you know, items that you farm are there to get you to come back to the game to create player retention. That's how these things work.
alternative to all of this mindless, soul-destroying grinding and time gating is to
Soul
simply
destroying,
pay
brother. It's not a
$10. It
fucking
becomes a
Soulsborne,
pretty
man.
appealing proposition to cough up the dough, and
Yeah.
that's the problem. Nexon has intentionally propped up.
I don't think that's a problem because the game isn't using gacha and it's free. I don't think that's
Yeah,
very
that guy
bad.
right there. Hold on. Someone just commented. That's how business works. I mean, this right here too. The game is the grind. If you pay, there's no game. Yeah, I mean, but yeah, that's how business works. Like his dude, Asmund's chat. Like back when he recorded this, bro, they were cooking.
I don't think that's very bad.
Yeah, it's not.
It is a problem? Why? Why is it a problem? It's boring? Then just stop playing. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that's I'm. It's a free game.
Obtuse, overly grindy systems that feel terrible, seemingly just to make it more enticing to pay money. And when
He's
there are
right.
already paid season passes and a whole slew of optional cosmetics that can only be unlocked with money, did it really need to throw in what is essentially an even more grindy version of Warframe's character unlock system just to annoy me into paying more on top of
Grindier, but it takes half the time that Warframe does. So I mean, it kind of evens out. Actually, like even back then, like for Ultimate Descendants, I would say. I mean, I had people who told me that they were farmed for like one of Ultimate Ajax's parts for a month straight when the game released, and I have hardly any experience with Warframe, right? Like I have like fucking, I don't know, 6 hours altogether, so I have no time in the game essentially. Brother, listen to me, man. Like I would take 18 and 36 hours over 3 days any day. Like I don't care how long the grind takes itself, because once the grind is done, it's done, right? It's no longer applicable. It's no longer, you know what I mean? It's out of your brain. Now you're like, okay, now I have to wait this long to play the character, right? Or I can cook these parts, you know. Don't forget, you know, it is pay to progress. So if you wanted to speed it up, you very well can. It's the same thing as Warframe. I'm sure that you can do that exact same thing in Warframe, you know. But I mean, just complaining about research time, I feel like he's scraping at the bottom of the barrel for things to, you know, criticize the game on, and it's just not working.
that. Either way, trying to unlock a single character for free was an absolutely excruciating experience that made me feel a whole lot worse about the first Descendant, despite mostly enjoying the actual gameplay.
Do as I say, if you want to live.
Similarly, the weapons, equipment, and upgrades you earn while shotgunning your way through levels are awesome.
His fucking
Loot drops
chat.
constantly. Most weapons feel distinct and satisfying to play with,
Yeah, they're
and
pretty
watching
good.
the numbers go up as you modify and upgrade every new toy in your arsenal makes the first Descendant hard to put down, until it forces you into about 15 separate menus to juggle dozens of materials and so many different systems.
Yeah, the
you don't
menus
wanna
are an
keep your
issue. I definitely agree with that. But I mean, even though the multiple user interfaces are clunky, there's still, I mean, like at this point, it's second nature to me, bro. Like, you know, I know exactly where to go for stuff. Like, I know exactly how many button presses I gotta press to get out of, you know, being balls deep in the menus back to back to my screen. You know, the basic screen where there's no menus popped up or anything like that. Like, it's really not that bad. It is rough, and I'm sure they've overhauled it a little bit since like this video was put out and stuff like that. But it's really not that bad. And honestly, it's more so something that you would mention to Magnum Studios slash Nexon as something to look into, rather than saying, "Oh, it's something that I can criticize the game about," because like literally all they have to do, right, is include press and hold to exit all menus. That's it. That's all they got to do. It's such an easy fix, and it's yeah. I mean, again,
tailor
scraping at the bottom of the barrel, like I said.
at the ready. This kind of thing is pretty typical for looter shooters, granted, but even by the already gag-inducing standards of the genre, this one's
Brother has a fire
particularly
reactor on
obnoxious to
on
learn,
Bunny.
especially
Let's
since
just
I
keep
think
that in mind
one
here.
thing this game lacks is a satisfying feeling of gear progression outside of modifications on armor and weapons after level 40 or level 100 gear. I think that like whenever you fight harder content, like there should be like another tier of difficulty that gives you gear that is better than the base gear. Because I feel like you hit
That's a
that,
good idea.
like you go from like your base gear to the level 100 gear, and then it's like you kind of plateau out there really early on. And I don't feel like
I mean, yes and no. Like I see what he's saying here, but you don't necessarily plateau. You do to an extent, but it's all in your modules and like the build specifications, right? So, you know, he's talking about weapons and reactors and stuff like that. I wonder if back then the reactor upgrade system wasn't a thing. The thing about it is you have all the reactor options, right? And that's kind of a you essentially have a one size fits all with all the reactor options that you can farm and stuff like that. And yeah, this person right here, he says their sets. I think he's talking about the external component sets. And I mean, this isn't a bad idea, but I'm not really sure if it would fit into something like the first Descendant, where it's like, okay, after level 100, I can go to level 120 or 130, 150, whatever the case might be, simply because a lot of the build progression is literally just in build refinement slash adjustment, right? Like swapping out modules, you know, as for the date of me recording this video, you know, arcade tree adjustment, like choosing different nodes in the arcade tree and stuff like that, which again wasn't present when either of these videos were recorded, so let's keep that in mind. So I feel like to an extent they did apply a little bit of what Asman is saying here into the game, but maybe just not in the fashion that he was expecting. Again, it's not a bad idea, but I feel like it has actually been implemented at least to some extent in some fashion. Let's continue.
like there's a lot of progress that you can make that feels as good as the progress that you made during the campaign. Hard mode? I don't think that's enough because I don't think hard mode's hard. I think it's a joke. Like, am I crazy? I think hard mode's super easy.
Yeah, he's definitely right.
Who shows you the ropes in the social
Hard
area,
mode is a joke.
explains things to you in a series of texts that pass by quickly.
Let's think about breach tracking and all the dungeons that have been added, though, right? So I guess they have, in a way, you know, expanded upon the game's difficulty and stuff like that.
Enough to challenge your speed reading skills. Worse yet, these brutally obtuse systems have likewise been given the same arbitrary barriers as weapons, with various currencies and components to craft that can be made a whole lot less annoying if you just pay the piper.
Okay, whole lot less annoying if you just pay the piper. Listen, brother, you can't buy, yeah, the readjustment materials. You can't buy these, man. Like, you can't buy a good build. You can't even buy ultimate weapons. Like, you still have to farm for the weapons. A lot of them are just kind of given to you. You know, and we get a lot of like ultimate weapon selection boxes and stuff like that. Now, again, I'm not sure if when the game released it had like login rewards such as ultimate weapon selection boxes. I'm sure it didn't, simply because there was so much less then than there is now. But him saying that like you can pay your way, that is blatantly untrue. He absolutely cannot.
The first Descendant has all the building blocks of a fantastic looter shooter, but they're buried under a pile of monotonous quests, a terrible story, and an infuriating free-to-play model that has influenced its game design in the worst possible way. In its best moments, blasting aliens apart with both fireballs and a satisfying arsenal of weapons makes for a really good time, but at least an equal portion of my time was spent battling perplexing design decisions that tested the limits of my abundant patience. Like its peers, future updates could evolve this live service into a much more consistently enjoyable way to spend time with friends, but for now,
I think he brings up some good points with that.
it misses the mark too often to make its grind feel worthwhile.
No thanks. I won't
think
stick with
that
IGN.
a lot of people are being overly critical about this game. I don't think that 5 is an accurate number. I think it's closer to like a 7. I think it's a 7 for me. That's what I think. I'm actually kind of curious to play some of these other games because I think that he brings up some good points about this, but I think that he's also kind of being unreasonable about the game having like bad monetization, because it's a free game.
Very
and you can
unreasonable.
just literally buy the things that you want. There's no like runaround, there's no FOMO, there's no gotcha. It's just a free game that has optional things that you can buy to skip time. I really don't think that's the big deal. And I think if you don't like that, you're probably not like, you're not going to like any free-to-play game, right? Like that's
Yeah.
IGN gives everything a 7, so it'd probably get roasted if they gave it that score. Really? Yeah, I mean, I think it's a 7. That's where I'm at. You should try out Destiny. It just came out with a new expansion. See, like, that's what I'm thinking, right? Because, like, I played this game a lot. I think that his strongest point that he's making is actually about the... Actually, he made 2 very good points in this video.
Okay.
I think the first point about how the characters, you don't even really understand them or know anything about them, and that makes people not willing to like grind for them and play them. I think that's absolutely valid.
I mean, yeah, but again, you know, like a lot of the some of the characters' story beats are like little niche details and stuff like that, like personality traits or whatever. They're more so explained through just like item descriptions and stuff like that, you know, kind of in the style of like a Soulsborne. So I mean, but I see where they are coming from with this, but that's why, you know, ever since this video has come out, like every new character that has been released has had a story attached to it, right? To get you more personally involved with the character, right? To want to farm them and want to play as them and stuff like that. That way you have, you know, you formulate a little bit of a personal connection with them before you just go out and say, oh, okay, you know, this character looks fun, blah, blah, blah. The intro cinematic looks good. Which, again, the intro cinematic is to get you interested into farming the character / buying the character, whichever path you may choose. I do think that Nexon and Magnum Studios did take some of what people are saying in this video, Asmon specifically, seriously, and they implemented that into future updates.
And then the second thing that I think he brings up that makes a lot of sense is the fact that the missions are very repetitive.
Yeah.
I think that there's like a few missions in the game towards the end of the game that are like the more long form missions that are open world where you're like jumping from those different platforms. Like those parts of it are really cool, but the rest of it I think is very boring. And it does feel like super formulaic. And even inside of the dungeons, a lot of the dungeons feel like they're pretty much the same. So I think the gameplay's an 8 or a 9, but some of the systems bring it down to like a 6 or a 7. Yeah, I think that's fair. But I just think that as a free-to-play game, having some degree of that monetization isn't really that big of a deal, and I don't care about it that much. I think that
damn, look at his tabs.
Overly critical of this game. I don't necessarily know why. I think it's probably because it's Nexon, and I think with game reviewers, anytime that a game has like sexualized characters and game reviewers rate it badly, I just assume that there's probably some kind of component there because it seems like they have a vendetta against it. Same with Stellar Blade.
Yeah.
But in a general sense, I think the game is like, it's okay. It's not amazing, but it's okay. It's like a 7, and it's been enjoyable for me to play so far. He said he likes the characters. No, but I didn't say that the characters were bad. I think he means he likes the gameplay of the characters, which I think it's true. Yeah, the gameplay is good. Feels like the game is half-baked, and they might patch it to be a lot better. Right now it's a 7. Yeah, I sure hope they do. Paying to bypass the grind is fine. The issue is making the grind absolutely horrid, and they have both cosmetics and bypass grind monetization.
Yeah, again, absolutely horrid grind. So what that person's probably talking about is how rough it was to farm up ultimate Descendant parts on release, which obviously has gotten a lot better, you know, through the target reward system, you know, the library, you know, and all this other stuff. So again, it's a bit of a time capsule to see what things that these people are talking about have improved, maybe what hasn't improved so much. And I think mission variety is still kind of a thing that we need improvements for. So this is why I presented the idea of a little bit of objective-based gameplay being sprinkled into gameplay loop. You know, kind of like, I'm gonna bring this up until they change something, but kind of like, you know, in the Supermassive Receptor dungeon, where with that big wide open space with the moving platforms, where you had these energy converters. I forget the exact name of them, but you had these energy converters on either side that you had to destroy. It didn't necessarily disrupt the flow of gameplay, but it also makes you think, at least for a split second, okay, hey, I got to destroy this thing, you know, before I can move on to the next part of the mission. You know, I think more of that stuff and less of the, okay, stand on this platform and, you know, get these shapes to line up with the doorway to unlock the doorway. I think if we had more objective-based gameplay that was in that vein, then it would break up a lot of the monotony of the gameplay, at least to a certain extent. And it would go a long way at the end of the day. Maybe not every single new dungeon that comes out needs that, but I'm hoping that for the next couple of dungeons that release, we have something similar to that. You know, instead of just, okay, go to point A, B, C, and D and destroy enemy group A, B, C, and D, right? So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really care about cosmetics. Like, am I crazy? I really just don't give a shit. I think that obviously it's like, I would rather, this is what I would prefer. I would rather that your character is, you buy the game for $60 and your character is like 50% effective, and you have to pay effectively like a battle pass every month in order to be 100% effective. Because that would function like old school WoW and a subscription. That's what I would want. That because I think that's the best way to do an online game. Fuck that. No, worst system ever. Okay, well then I guess you think WoW is bad. No? That's worse? It's worse than WoW? Yeah, no, it's not. It's the same thing. And here's the thing, right? I think it's the best and the most fair because it's binary. You either buy it or you don't. And you're continuously updating everything, and everything is obtainable in the game. Because he is right that when you make these things monetizable, you create a profit incentive for the game to make things take longer, to make you want to spend more money. He makes a very good point for that, and I think that this does make the game
Yeah, it's called
worse.
making money.
And I want to actually bring this point up. Having these timers makes the game worse. There is no improvement in gameplay or improvement in experience because of these timers.
I mean, I guess, you know, the research timers, they don't add anything to the game, but like I said, it's to keep you in the gameplay loop, right? It's to, you know, it's to bring you, it's a retention loop is what it is essentially, right? Even if it is a bit, you know, overbearing or predatory, whatever verbiage you would want to use for that. I don't think it's any of those things. I think it's just simply a matter of, okay, well, now I have this character cooking, I can go back to, you know, farming X, Y, or Z thing that I might want to be farming at the time, right? I don't know. I mean, for me, it's not really that bad. I mean, I can see where he's coming from, and I feel like if Magnum Studios were to do away with research timers, at least on characters, right? I feel like research timers for everything else they can be argued for, but I feel like if they did away with research timers on certain things or certain characters, I feel like that would be pretty good. Honestly, the game would improve for it, but at the same time, I can see why they're there in the first place.
Objectively makes the game worse, and there's no way around it. I think it's fine, actually. You can think that it's fine, but nobody thinks it makes it better, right? Player item training.
Yeah, I don't think it makes it better.
Yeah, exactly. So Warframe has like 3 days time? Yeah, well, I don't know. But I'm just saying, like, in general, like, these systems they're not enjoyable. So for me personally, I would prefer a buy-to-play game with a system that functions like a subscription that allows you to play at full efficiency. That's what I think is the best way of monetizing an online game that's live service, and that's what I would prefer the most as a player. Everybody is going to have different viewpoints on this, But that why? The reason why is that I think cosmetic progression matters a lot, and if you add store cosmetic progression, you destroy the progression loop for players, and the items that people have no longer have value to other people because they're all buyable in game. And I think also whenever you add items into a store that advance the way your character plays or the way that your character is powerful, you then contrive the entire game around being a funnel into using that store. And in order to avoid that, if you just have to make one payment for one thing, there is no longer a profit incentive for people to feel like they have to design a game in a way that makes you have to go to the store. Because the only thing you can buy is binary, you either have it or you don't. So that's the way I like it.
All right, Asmon's losing me a little bit with this. I think he's essentially saying that he likes pay-to-win gameplay. Okay.
That's what I prefer as a player. Now, I know a lot of people don't like that either, but I think that's the best way to do it. I like the Lost Ark pet sub. Exactly, that's what I'm talking about. The crystalline aura. You should make cosmetics tradable? Yeah, maybe. What about a balance between unlockable and those that pay? Well, no. I think that if you have a balance, what's going to end up happening is that the pay ones are going to be better and the unlockable ones won't be as interesting because that's what's profit incentive for them. So yeah, I think that you can't do that. Dude, trading is insane. Why is no one calling that out? I don't know. I mean, I haven't played Warframe. I'm not sure if that's any good. But yeah, that's the way I see it. And yeah, I think the game's a 7. I think it's pretty good. But overall, I can see why a lot of people have complaints about it. And I hope that...
All right, we're gonna stop there. It's gonna be 36 more seconds of basically nothing burgers. So, but yeah, I mean, Asmon made a pretty good video. Giving it a 7 on release is pretty generous. I don't know what I would have given it on release. Probably a little bit less than that. Again, the game didn't really grab me when I first played it when it first came out at all. Right? I was not a fan of it at all. You know. But obviously, I'm a huge fan of it now. I've changed my opinion on it. And again, if you're a part of Asmon's audience and you made it this far into the video, consider checking the game out. Maybe you can change your opinion too. Maybe you had kind of a bad impression of the game when you first downloaded it like me, but now, maybe once you download the game again and give it a shot, you might like it. But yeah, again, if you're looking for energy supplements, code Ascending Rift at w.gg at checkouts. If you made it to the end of the video, go ahead and drop a comment down below. If you agree, let me know. If you disagree, let me know. Please be respectful in the comments, though. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.